Wasn't Big out at California 3-4 weeks and Snoop never saw him, but it was a whole lot of love? Come on, man.
Not true, Snoop Doggy Doggy Dog. Snoop Lion. That's what you should need to keep your name. Snoop Lion, because you always lie.
Snoop wasn't even next to us when that happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, he bugging. He knew damn well it wasn't like that.
So Snoop was nowhere around?
No.
When Snoop Dogg starts spinning one of his wild stories, you can't help but tune in. Whether he's talking about Tupac, Biggie, or some random drama from back in the day, people hang on every word.
I step away from him and Nas right here, boom. Nas like, what's up, Pop?
But insiders say a lot of Snoop's stories aren't just exaggerated. They're straight up questionable. Over the years, Uncle Snoop has been called out for telling tales that sound more like Hollywood scripts than real life. They always say there are 3 sides to every story. One person's version, the other person's version, and the messy truth somewhere in the middle. And sometimes, when a third person jumps in to set the record straight, their version can get way off, especially if they weren't even there. That might be exactly what went down when Snoop decided to share his take on a supposed run-in between Nas and Tupac during the peak of that East Coast versus West Coast chaos. To get what's going on, you gotta rewind. On Nas's second album, It Was Written, the opening track, The Message, had that infamous line, "Fake thug, no love, you get the slug, CB4 gusto." On paper, it wasn't aimed at anyone, but Pac took it personal. He thought it was directed at him. And if you know Pac, once he felt disrespected, it was war. Just like that, Nas got added to Pac's hit list right next to Biggie, Puffy, and the whole Bad Boy camp. So by the time Pac touched down in New York for the MTV Music Awards, the air was already thick with tension.
He made a record about me, and he was in New York, and nobody from New York is really, they talk it, man, but all them companies don't really hold it down.
And here's where Snoop jumps in with his version. According to him, when Tupac rolled up with the whole Death Row crew, Nas pulled up even heavier, with about 100 guys from Queens deep in the streets. Snoop described it like Pac was wilding out, cursing at Nas, throwing shade, talking reckless, while Nas stood cool and collected in the middle of all his people. And then comes the dramatic part. Snoop said, Nas had the power to crush Pac and the entire Death Row squad right then and there, but instead, he chose peace.
But Nas didn't want none. But Nas had a with guns.
Right.
So listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
By me saying he didn't want none didn't mean he didn't punk out. It mean he just didn't want to
go there.
Pac didn't even see them. I did because I got a gangbang mentality. I seen them start circling,
right,
putting their hands in their pockets while Pac is in this ear telling him, I made a song dissing you, Jay-Z, Biggie.
In Snoop's version, Nas came off like the wise king, while Pac looked like the reckless hothead who didn't even realize how close he was to disaster. But here's the wild twist. Snoop wasn't even there that night.
When Tupac and Nas had to run in New York, right, at Bryant Park, was Snoop there? Because I seen some Snoop interviews, and he said that he seen everything.
To be honest, bro, I don't recall Snoop being there. And the situation didn't go down nothing the way Snoop said it. His Pac wasn't cursing out Nas. We gonna keep it 100. You know what I mean? Pac wasn't disrespecting Nas at all. You know, I know Snoop said Pac punked Nas and then went to Snoop and said, you see how I got these New York dudes? None of that happened, bro. It was a mutual respect thing. When Pac and Nas met each other, it was nobody talking disrespect from both sides. Maybe the people behind Nas and the people behind Pac was me mugging, saying certain things, but Pac and Nas handled it like real gentlemen, real, you know what I mean, real respect.
His whole story was pure fabrication, and the first person to pull the plug on it was Napoleon, one of Pac's closest boys from the Outlaws, who actually was there. According to Napoleon, the way Snoop painted it was flat out false. There wasn't some near brawl where Nas's crew was seconds from jumping Death Row. In reality, when Pac and Nas crossed paths, it was calm. No yelling, no clowning, no disrespect. Napoleon said it was two men talking face to face, sorting out their differences like adults. Pac explained his side, Nas explained his, and the tension evaporated. They even cleared up the whole misunderstanding on the spot. Pac went so far as to promise that once he got back to LA, he'd cut Nas's name out of any diss tracks where it had slipped in. Sadly, he never got the chance, because not long after, Pac was gone forever. But the point is, there was no dramatic standoff like Snoop described. And if you think Napoleon was just being loyal to his boy, all you gotta do is look at what Nas himself said. Years later, Nas confirmed the truth. He admitted the vibe was tense, but Pac never disrespected him to his face. Instead, they had a real conversation, squashed the beef, and walked away with respect for each other.
A great combo, man. He was like, you know, he explained that he thought I was dissing him, and he thought, and I, on the song The Message, you know what I'm saying? He thought I was dissing him, and I wasn't even thinking about when I wrote that record. It's right, it was just going. You know what I'm saying? It was just going, hey, you know, just coming. So he thought that, and then I was like, well, I heard you was coming at me. I said, no, it was about you, but I heard you was coming at me, you know, back and forth.
And this wasn't the only time Snoop's storytelling got shaky. Another favorite tale he loves to repeat is about Pac while he was locked up. Snoop claims Pac was in danger behind bars, facing serious threats, and that he was the one who convinced Suge Knight to step in and bail Pac out, basically saving his life. But once again, Napoleon called cap on that one too. He said Pac wasn't in danger at all in prison. In fact, Pac was respected, making friends, taking flicks, and holding his ground. Napoleon even said that during visits, Pac never once complained about being threatened or unsafe. Did Pac want out of prison? Of course, nobody wants to rot in a cell. But according to Napoleon, it wasn't because Snoop whispered in Suge Knight's ear like some hero in a movie. That whole Snoop save Pac storyline just doesn't add up.
Was Tupac having issues when he was in prison? Because I know Snoop, he always say that he was hearing bad things, so he told Suge Knight to get him out.
But that's a false narrative that I think Snoop was pushing. You know what I mean? Pac, for a fact, he wasn't really... He had a lot of, like, he used to send us pictures, and his pictures on the internet when he was taking pictures with New York dudes up in Clinton. I guess people, they like to say that so then they can vouch for some other rumors that's being spread about Pac to try to put dirt on his name. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a fact that he was disliked. He was holding it down. We used to go visit him monthly, some of us weekly. I can't recall him saying anything where he felt like he was in danger. You know what I mean? Like, not one time. He wanted to get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, hey, I'm good. Y'all just go do your thing and leave me alone. No, he wanted to come home, but he definitely wasn't having any issues.
And Snoop's remixing of history doesn't stop with Pac. It stretches to Biggie too. Snoop has always pushed this image that he and Biggie were tight, almost like brothers, with nothing but mutual love and respect. But Gene Deal, Puff Daddy's former bodyguard, who had a front row seat to all the action, tells a completely different story. In an interview on the Art of Dialogue podcast, Gene flat out said, Biggie didn't mess with Snoop like that. He claimed Biggie had no respect for him and wasn't fond of him at all. Gene even questioned why. If Snoop was supposedly so close with both Pac and Biggie, that bond only seemed to appear after they were both gone. According to Gene, Snoop's whole peacemaker angle, acting like he was the guy bridging East and West, was just a convenient narrative to make himself look good in the media. The truth, he said, was that things weren't nearly as friendly as Snoop makes them sound today. And Gene didn't stop there. He said Snoop's supposed bond with Biggie didn't even exist until after Pac's death. Before that, it was cold vibes, not brotherhood. Gene asked the real questions. Wasn't Biggie out in California for 3-4 weeks straight and Snoop never pulled up, never smoked with him, never ate with him? Yet now we're supposed to believe there was all this love? Come on, man. Gene said it didn't add up.
Big got in that studio and said, I don't know why this Snoop's calling me. I'm not telling this where I'm at.
Of course, Snoop has his own version. After Biggie's death in '97, Snoop started going on record about how much he respected him. In a 2018 Rap Radar interview, he even shared a deep story about bumping into Biggie in Atlanta sometime after Pac's death, painting the picture like there had always been respect between them. According to Snoop, he and Biggie had this deep, heart-to-heart moment, just the two of them, man to man. Snoop claims Biggie opened up saying how much he loved Pac and how he never wanted him dead. He says Big admitted he'd made mistakes, said things he shouldn't have, and even apologized like a real man. Snoop painted it as a genuine moment of closure. He even explained that he never fully blamed Biggie for that infamous shooting during Thaw Dog Pound's NYNY video shoot in Brooklyn. At the time, Death Row thought Biggie's crew had something to do with it, but since nobody got hit, they let it slide. Or at least that's how Snoop tells it. And once Biggie supposedly apologized, that was it. Beef squashed, hands shaken, and suddenly they were cool again. But here's where Gene Deal throws cold water on Snoop's story. When asked about that Atlanta meeting, Gene admitted he couldn't confirm it since he wasn't there, but he still raised an eyebrow. What bothered him was this: if Snoop could supposedly pull up solo to Biggie's hotel in Atlanta, why didn't we ever see him around Big when he was in Los Angeles? Gene put it bluntly: I can see you in Atlanta, but I can't see you in California, in my own hometown. You're saying you're so gangsta, you can roll up to Biggie's hotel room in Atlanta, but in California, you couldn't link with him? All right then.
When you be seeing these interviews with Snoop speaking on Biggie, how does that make you feel?
That's propaganda for the media, bruh. Pac asked you was going to Vegas and the whole 9 yards, and he didn't say nothing to you, or he said some slick to you, or whatever, this, that, and the third. It wasn't all that love until Pac was dead. Wasn't Big out at California? I wasn't there, brother. I don't know how accurate it is. That's a Lil C story. That's a Snoop Dogg story. But I could see you in Atlanta, but I can't see you in California at my own hometown. Huh?
That was Gene's way of casting serious doubt on Snoop's version. And this is where the two-faced Snoop angle starts to click for a lot of people, because Gene isn't the only one who's accused Snoop of being fake with his stories. Tupac himself actually called him out on it while he was still alive. What most people don't realize is that by the time Pac died, he and Snoop weren't even cool anymore. Their whole relationship had completely fallen apart. Insiders who were around back then say part of the tension between Pac and Snoop boiled down to straight-up jealousy. Before Pac signed with Death Row, Snoop was the golden child, Suge Knight's star player, the face of West Coast rap, the one everybody looked to. But the second Pac came home from prison and joined the camp, all of that flipped overnight. Pac's energy was larger than life. He dropped music at a crazy pace and instantly stole the spotlight. According to people close to the situation, Snoop didn't handle that shift too well.
When Tupac joined Death Row, was Snoop jealous of Tupac joining Death Row?
Snoop definitely was a little razzled because he used to be in Snoop Dogg. And when Pac came, he demanded all the attention and got it.
That jealousy started creeping into little things, until eventually it blew up in a huge way. The breaking point for their friendship came after Pac dropped his infamous diss track, Hit 'Em Up. At that time, the war between Death Row and Bad Boy was at an all-time high. Everybody had chosen sides, and the tension was hotter than ever in 1996. So when the Death Row crew pulled up in New York for the MTV Video Music Awards, Snoop's behavior started raising eyebrows. First, he bailed on a scheduled Saturday Night Live rehearsal with Pac, already a bad look. But then came the real bombshell. Snoop went on a New York radio station and told the world, "I got nothing but love for Biggie and Puffy." Now you gotta understand, saying that in New York, right in the middle of a deadly rap war, was like spitting in Pac's face. And it wasn't just the words that cut deep. What really burned Pac was the fact that just days before, Snoop had been right there in the studio with him, laying down diss tracks aimed straight at Biggie and Puff. One minute he's riding with Pac on wax, throwing shots, and the next, he's on the radio smiling, saying he's got love for the same dudes they were dissing. To Pac, that wasn't confusion, that was betrayal. Sadly, they never got the chance to hash it out. Pac was killed in Vegas before the friendship could be saved. After his death, Snoop tried to explain his side, saying Pac just didn't understand him. According to Snoop, he never hated Biggie, never wanted him hurt, and Pac couldn't see that. But here's the part that still doesn't sit right with fans and insiders. If Snoop really had no problem with Biggie, then why was he in the booth helping Pac record diss tracks? Why play both sides of the fence? Why tell Pac one thing in the studio, then run to the media and say the exact opposite? To a lot of people, it looked like Snoop was just protecting his own image, acting like he was cool with everybody while letting Pac be the one out front taking all the heat. And when Pac got heated, Snoop brushed it off, making it seem like Pac was just overreacting. But the truth is, it was Snoop who was sending mixed signals, and as messy as things were while Pac was alive, what Snoop did after Pac's death had people shaking their heads even more. Some call it one of his biggest betrayals. See, there's a name that always pops up when people talk about Pac's murder: Big Dre from the Southside Compton Crips. Now, most point the finger at Orlando Anderson as the trigger man, but plenty of insiders believe Big Dre was actually the real shooter that night in Vegas. And here's the shocking part. What did Snoop do after Pac was gone? He worked with him. Not long after Pac's death, Big Dre launched his own label, Runoff Records, and dropped a mixtape called Hard White, stacked with serious features like Warren G, MC8, and yes, Snoop Dogg himself. When that news hit the streets, it was chaos. People were asking the obvious. How did Big Dre suddenly get the money to pull names like that? And more importantly, why would Snoop, of all people, agree to work with someone rumored to be tied to Pac's murder? To Pac's fans, that move spoke volumes. It felt like Snoop was showing his true colors, like maybe Pac's death didn't cut him as deep as he wanted the world to believe. And once the backlash came, Snoop quickly switched his whole narrative. Suddenly, every interview was filled with nothing but love for Pac, acting like they were brothers till the end. But to many, it looked less like truth and more like straight-up damage control.
You know, I don't think we was really on good terms before he died, because he didn't really understand the way. I didn't really have no hate towards Big. I didn't really feel like he should continue to, to get at Biggie.
But here's where a lot of fans...
And it doesn't stop there. Another pattern folks have noticed is Snoop's habit of exaggerating his gangster tales. Nobody denies Snoop really came up in the streets. He's connected to the Rollin' 20 Crips. His credentials are real. But the issue, he's got this habit of flipping true events into Hollywood-style scripts, making himself sound bigger, badder, and bolder than what really went down. Take the whole Training Day story, for example. Snoop once bragged that while filming the movie, he ordered a blue tracksuit for his wardrobe. But when he showed up on set, he realized they were deep in a blood-controlled neighborhood, enemy turf. According to his version, he calmly asked to speak to the local OG, and just like in some Hollywood script, the dude rolled up in a wheelchair, mirroring Snoop's character in the film. To keep the peace, Snoop claimed he bought $300 worth of weed from the guy, and magically the set was good to go.
The movie with Denzel, before I got the scene, right? They said, what you want to wear in the movie? I'm like, give me a blue sweatsuit, let me get to my blue chucks. They didn't tell me where it was. We get to the there's 100,000 bloods on the corner. I'm in a wheelchair like that. Damn. It's everywhere. What's up, blood? What up, blood? What up, Snoop Dogg, blood? What up, blood? Standing on me. I rolled away. I went in that little wig shop. I said, hey, man, go find the OG from here and bring that nigga down here. Got to shoot 3-4 days in a row. No harm, no foul. Got to know how to politic.
But then the real story came out, and it was nothing like Snoop described. Instead of Snoop playing street diplomat, the Bloods in that hood weren't impressed. They started wilding, causing trouble, even throwing bottles at Snoop's trailer trying to scare him off. And while Snoop was ducked off inside, it wasn't him who stepped up to save the day. It was somebody else entirely. That somebody was Spice One, a gangster rap pioneer who got the emergency call. According to Spice, one of his OG Crip homies rang him up and warned him things were about to explode on set. The Bloods were outside Snoop's trailer causing pure chaos. So Spice pulled up, and the second the Bloods recognized him, the energy shifted. They knew exactly who he was, and that respect alone cooled things down. Spice didn't bark orders or try to flex tough guy energy. He kept it smooth, reminding them that if the cops showed up heavy, everyone could end up catching cases. Nobody wanted that heat, so the Bloods slid off around the corner, sparked some weed, and chilled until the police did a quick sweep and left. Once the coast was clear, Spice circled back to Snoop's trailer. They hung out, smoked a little, and Snoop had no idea how close things had come to blowing up just outside. And that's the thing, while Snoop still gets respect in hip-hop, stories like these have put some serious dents in his reputation. If you found this video wild, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, and share it with your people. I'll see you on the next one.